great, sir. Ah, there you go. There's just my screen.
This is another one of the professional development seminars that we're doing for NASJA. I welcome everybody being part of this. It's June 23rd, 2021. Just wanted to have a few notes about the association and what we're up to, and then I'll turn it over to Megan and MP. Look for your renewal notices. They'll be coming out to you this summer for renewing the organization. Tom Kelly has joined the board. Very excited about that. Tom has spent 30 years with the U.S. ski and snowboard team in communications. We have a new website that we work very hard on, very diligently on. It still needs a number of tweaks, but we launched it. We have a section called Member Showcase. So send in your clips, also send in your photographs so you can be part of that. It's kind of an online resume for our active press members. And if you've written a book, yes, wrote a book, tell us about it. We have a section on member books. That actually was a suggestion from one of our members, Peter Schroeder, who in fact wrote a book, and you'll see it on the website. After years of service, sorry to say that Peter Hines is transitioning away from executive secretary. If you know someone that would be interested in being executive secretary of NASJA, which is an absolutely fun job, but you can be anywhere to do that job, drop me a note and I can send you the job description. We have some events planned, just briefly. We're going to Big Snow in New Jersey on October 27th. That's open to all members. We'll plan to get together in Denver during the Snowbound Festival, November 5 to 7. We'll get together in Boston. In fact, we'll have a NASJA meeting on November 19th during the Snowbound Festival in Boston, November 19th. We're looking at going to Bretton Woods in March. We're looking to go to Sun Valley as part of Ski History Week. Doesn't it feel good that we're kind of like getting back to normal? And we're in the talking stages of a trip to Austria, and that will be February 5 to 12 in Austria. Our social media has never been as vibrant, as active, as constantly updated. We've never had a social presence as strong as we have now. And the reason we do is because of the enthusiasm of two board members I'm going to introduce now. One is Marie-Pierre Kennedy, and the other is Megan Collins. So take it away, guys.
Thank you, President Jeff. Very good introduction. And we have been very active at NASJA. So I've been reelected as vice president, but I first came on just a year ago. So all the rookies here, I just want to welcome all the new members and all the representative of resorts that are joining us tonight. So before I joined the board, I was just asked to help for social media for NASJA. Maybe some of you have been members for a long time. You notice it was pretty hit and miss or whenever they had news, but Megan and I decided to take it on as almost as a part-time job to try to communicate as much as your news as we can. Obviously, with being a small niche group, we don't aim to reach 100,000, but why not? If a great story gets shared and it's all about the members and our resort and our industry, then why not? So personally, I'm a press member. I write for many ski magazines. I'm in Canada, but I also write in the US. But on the side, I'm also a content creator. So I'm really interested tonight in learning from our two experts, Greg Blanchard from Slope Fillers, and also Nicole from Mom Trends, because as a content creator and I'm a translator and I create videos and brand ambassador, I'm really interested in knowing stay up to date, because as we know, it's not just the algorithms, but it's the way your customer engages and wants that authenticity and wants you to write them in private messages at midnight. So we all know we can't satisfy that expectation. But without further ado, I'd like to present our first speaker, Nicole Feliciano. I hope I pronounced it properly.
Beautifully.
Nicole, I did, yeah. It's like I can speak Italian a bit, but Nicole is the CEO of Mom Trends, and she has a lot of followers. It's an empire now, Mom Trend Media, right? And she publishes one of the nation's top blogs for moms, but momtrends.com if you want to check it out. The company launched in 2007, so at least we had the internet then. And travel is one of the biggest verticals, providing families with trusted tips for creating the best experience on snow. So she is directly involved with the snow sports industry in that niche. She manages snow-specific social media platform, Ski Moms Fun, plural, we can put it on screen after, on Instagram and Facebook. The private Ski Moms Facebook group, and she'll be talking about the importance of Facebook groups, gained 2,500 members in just over a year and is the largest group on social media for moms who ski and ride. 70,000 followers on Twitter. That's not bad either. So Nicole is a polished public speaker, no pressure, and has consulted with many brands, including P&G Ski Utah, who are here tonight, Vail Resorts, who are here tonight, VIX, and T-Mobile on marketing partnership. The floor is yours, Nicole.
Thank you so much. And I started back in 2007. And I think the key to social media for all of us is not writing anything in pen. So as you take notes today, keep them in pencils and just know that everything with social media is always changing. And you've just got to be flexible when you are thinking about it. But I want to talk about the trends that are happening right now that you should be jumping on and that I am jumping on, because with social media, frustrating as it is, it's all about what is happening right now and where people are going. And also really noticing how the social media engines are opening up the faucets. When we were talking about this presentation, I was really talking about how Instagram will open up the faucet for certain types of content, and Facebook the same. So I'll be really focusing on the things that are open and flowing right now. And those are what I believe you should be focusing your attention on. So there's 5 things that I think are on trend right now and very applicable for resorts and anything within the ski industry, and easy to create. First of all is Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels are content specific to Instagram. They are shot vertically, so like this, not like that. So you want to shoot the reel vertically. They are supposed to be fun snippets. So for a resort, it would be something like your dogs. If you have avalanche dogs, they always perform really, really well. Or if you have kids testing a product, kids doing something specific, something that's playful and fun. Now, after you've shot a reel with good light, I would say that's really important. Don't worry too much about the voice on it or the audio, because with Reels, it's very fun to add in music from the Instagram catalog. So that doesn't cost you anything. You just can find some music that matches the upbeat vibe of your video, or maybe it's somebody really shredding a perfect line, or maybe it's a sunrise ski that you've captured and you're going to put some sort of emotive music in the background. But for the Reels, it is for that visual appeal, a short snippet, really under a minute, over 15 seconds, but under a minute is really your sweet spot with them. And it can be playful, it should be on brand. I would say the important things are movement, something that's going to catch the eye of the person as they're going through the feed. So you want to have movement right away. Bright colors or some sort of striking color in there. It could be a sunrise, a sunset, you know, the poof of snow going up are things that work really well. So Instagram right now is giving a priority to Reels over static views, and they will show up in the main feed as well. So you can create a reel and then you can share it into your Instagram static feed as well. And that will almost assuredly get you 5 to 10x views on your content that you've created for Instagram. Also on Instagram, the second trend that I'd like to share is on your Instagram lives is co-hosting with someone. So let's say you have a short Instagram live, you've shared it with your followers, I'm going to be going live, and then you pull in someone else to that Instagram live. Instagram live should last about 5 minutes to half an hour. Anything longer than that is really too long. But you want to promote that you're going to have a special guest on, and then you're going to get partial some of their audience and some of your audience as well. Again, Instagram Live is one of the things that Instagram is promoting right now. So by bringing a co-host in, you're not only getting the turned on faucet of Instagram, but you're also exposing yourself to some of the followers from the guests that you have on. Now jumping over to Facebook. Now, Facebook and Instagram, when it comes to moms who ski, that is where I know my audience is. It matches up with the demographic that I attract. Really, it's moms from 25 to 55. The older set is on Facebook. They do overlap on Instagram a bit, but the Instagram crowd is really 25 to 40 for me. So for Facebook, it's still really, really important because these women are planning all of their trips. They're researching things on mom trends on where to go, what to pack, what to do on those days where the weather is inclement. So Facebook for me is very, very important. And one of the things that's been super successful for me has been a private Facebook group. It does not cost any money to open a private Facebook group. I would suggest on getting started for a private Facebook group is to join a few. There are certainly media ones. There are women who ski ones. There are East Coast skiers. There are Epic Pass skiers. There's all sorts of groups. But when I noticed something that was missing was really super specific on talking about moms who ski. So since it wasn't there, like everything else I've done in my business, I created it when I found a gap in the content. I quickly invited 10 of my friends who I know who are moms who ski. Then they invited their friends. In a year, we added 2,500 members with zero cost to me. And it has been a highly active group. Right now in the slow season, we're adding about 25 members a week. But during the ski season, we are adding anywhere from 100 to 200 members, and they are thirsty for knowledge. They want to know where to go, who to hire as a private guide, where to eat for dinner, what snow tires we have on our cars. They're looking for 7-seater cars. They want a recommendation, and it is a super active group. Again, in the winter, there's posts as many as 15 posts a day going live. And then they are getting as many as 50 comment replies in a post. So highly engaged. So I would challenge you within your vertical and within your resort, is there a group of parents who ski at Snow Basin or the morning patrol, the folks who like to hike up the mountain? Think about something niche that is going to be highly engaged and then go for it. And a great way to see some successful groups is to join a few to kick things off. Within Facebook, also, the Facebook video is extremely important. When you're shooting Facebook video, the best success is to shoot it like this. I wish I could tell you that you could shoot a video and use it on Instagram as well as Facebook. They are the same company, but they do not communicate. One language is basically, Japanese, and the other language is basically German. So you've got to create content for where you are trying to communicate. So with Facebook video, you want to create it like this, and you do not want to share a video from YouTube or Vimeo or Instagram or TikTok. They want original content. So if you're out there creating your fun Instagram reels, just set a little bit more time aside to create a fun, horizontally associated video for Facebook specifically. A lot of the same content that does well on Instagram does well on Facebook, but I will say on Facebook, you don't have the fun music you can overlay or the fun GIFs that you can put on there. So with Facebook, you probably will want to caption those videos before you put them live, because there's a lot of people watching Facebook video with sound off, either in meetings or on their commuter, however they commute, or at home when they're trying to not let the kids know that they're actually looking at Facebook. So captioning is really important for those videos, and Facebook does put a premium on those captioned videos. For those, do know that you're looking at a slightly older demographic when it comes to Facebook videos. Not terribly different, but slightly different. So it doesn't have to move quite as fast or as eye-catching with Facebook. And I find the Facebook crowd is often on Facebook to get a firsthand recommendation, often looking to get questions answered. So I that content pretty specific for them. Instagram is more general inspiration and overall feel for things. So that's kind of how I divide those two. And then overall, with both Facebook, Instagram, and all of our other social media, when it comes to how I'm searching for things, I'm joining other groups, I'm searching for specific Ski Moms content. So that brings me to my last thing, is looking at the hashtags. So for me, with Twitter and with Instagram, hashtags are super important. I'm always looking at people who tag either mom trends or Ski Moms fun in content. And I use those people who tag me. I'll often reshare their content either on Twitter, or I'll reshare it in an Instagram story if they've been thoughtful enough to use a carefully created hashtag. So that's a way for me to not only see what they're doing and creating, but to give back to my community as well. So those are my 5 trends in social media. I also have some action items for you, and I will get, before I jump into the action items, I will kind of take a pause here and see if anybody has questions, or if MP or Megan wanted me to steer me in a specific direction.
No, I think you're doing great. I just wanted to say you become, like, as an expert in social media, and for all of those who manage resorts and association and big business, you become almost a video editor. Because I had a funny story of a resort girl that took 8 hours to edit her first video on GoPro, and now she can go live with the live snow and a fun story in half an hour. The thing is, y'all have to be quick, right? Quick to go to post. You cannot take a week now to post, right? You have to be
better to be, the less precious you can be about it, the better. But I do think you start to find the light very quickly. I can't stress enough how important like lighting is in these content creations. So you do get better about that, and also have an idea about, before you go out to shoot, about the checklist of things that you need to get for that particular moment in time. Okay, I need to get a horizontally oriented for this. I need to get a vertically oriented for that, and I need maybe a couple stills for stories. But I'll go over my 10 action items, and I have them printed out. So if you want to, you can email Megan or MP afterwards, and I'm happy to share this. I put together a little overview for this. First of all, is setting a goal for what you want to do for the day, the week, the month, and the year. And that can be, creating one great story a day for Instagram, or one great video a day, but really set a goal. And then once you've got that goal, put it on a schedule and set some time aside every to meet that goal. So for me, my calendar quickly fills up. If I don't block out time to create content, it's not going to happen. I also set the time on my calendar to create content when, again, I know the light is going to be the best. So I block that out. Here in Vermont, the sun rises a little bit later, but if I want to get nice sunrise content, I'll block that out from sort of 8 to 9 when I know it's going to be a nice glow out there. Or I'll set it in the afternoon, sort of from 4 to 5, where I'm going to go out and create content and get some photos. But if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen. Creating a template is fantastic. If you're going to put overlays or captions on, if you're always using the same colors, the same font, when you're creating stories or things in Instagram or video, it makes things much easier. I also, to embellish and enhance my graphics, I'll use Canva, which is a pretty intuitive software platform. But again, I've got a color palette on there. I've got 2 or 3 colors that I always use. It makes it very easy for me, rather than spending another half an hour hunting and pecking for fonts and colors, knowing that I've got things already in my toolbox. It's fantastic. For is building content specific to the platform, and we spoke about that. Horizontal versus vertical is very important. 5 is taking the time to figure out how to take better videos and photos. And Jeff was asking me if I think that those Instagram, those quick Instagram gain 100,000 followers are worth the money that they are not. I will say that is not money well spent, but taking a class, a Zoom class or an in-person class with somebody who can teach you the lighting basics on your iPhone is really all you need. Like how to shoot video, how to shoot photos with your iPhone. That is all any social media creator needs. But investing in a class is time well spent there. 6 is, speaking to what Jeff was saying, that there is no quick fix. Really avoid those charlatans who say they're going to give you 50,000 followers. You get what you pay for, and those quick fixes are not going to be meaningful followers. I did mention before, joining private groups is a great thing to do right now to follow those best practices. Number 8 is inviting experts that you already know to create that content that we were talking about on Instagram Live or for Facebook videos as well. Is expanding to include somebody that you already know in videos is going to create even better content. Branding your hashtags. Every resort, every creator should have a hashtag when they're creating content for Instagram and Twitter. It doesn't really work great on Facebook, but you should be, for those two, you should be hashtagging with at least one hashtag, the #, and then something that is super specific to your content that you create. And then really tracking your progress, setting a time. I do it once a month where I sit down and look at all of my analytics across the social media platforms. I look at my best performing post. I look at my worst performing post, what was different between the best and the worst, and try to tweak things every month to grow from there. So that is it for right now. I will pass it back to Megan and MP and Greg.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. That was a lot of info, really fast, but at least some of you will get the recording after, because I wanted to write a few notes as well. Because as you know, we all can use user-created content to reshare. Greg, you might cover that as well. You might have ambassadors. I'm sure you have some with Mom's Trends. You might use athletes, celebrities who promote you and use your hashtag. So there's a lot of other tools that we won't have time to touch on today. But now I'd like to throw it to my corporate liaison friend, Megan, who's on our board. You need to unmute, Megan. I'll introduce you. Yeah. So Megan's been with Snow Basin and she's our corporate liaison. She was already on, and we make a good team because we like to share what's going on in the trend, and we call our Twitter now Snow Scoop. So we're really trying to get your scoop. So I invite all of our members and all of the resorts and all the news industry to tag us so we can share. So we're a group of journalists, so we want to do that. So Megan, you've done it all in the resort industry, so take it away and introduce our next guest.
Hi guys, I'm Megan. I'm at Snow Basin. Like MP said, I do communications, events, and marketing, and I'm super stoked to introduce our next speaker, Greg Blanchard. Many of you will know him probably as Slope Fillers if you're a resort junkie like myself and follow all his marketing guru messages. He works for Entopia, and he is the creator and editor of Slope Fillers. And recently, for journalists, if you're interested, he has a freelance section, so you could go write your little bios up for that. And he has worked for Entopia and still does. And he is here to talk about marketing trends and what he sees in the industry and his tips. So welcome, Greg.
Thanks, Megan. And for the record, I liked how MP said my last name better than you did, Megan. I'm sorry, but Blanchard, it sounds so much better because it is a French.
I thought about that, but I took Spanish in high school, not French, and it might not sound cool.
Blanchard, there you go.
Yeah, for a kid that grew up in a small farming town, the first time I heard my name said that way, I was like, "What? That is the coolest thing ever." So yeah, let me follow quickly on 3 things that Nicole talked about that I thought were really important. I'll just kind of highlight those, and then I'll jump into some of my thoughts. She talked about how Instagram is giving priority to Reels, and that's one of those kind of patterns you see in social media over and over again. When these platforms introduce new things, even if you're not that excited about it, pay attention, because they tend to juice those little features more than other things, and you can get a lot of traction or a lot of engagement really quickly if you just follow the new things. Even if it doesn't last, just follow those things. Second one, with Facebook groups, if you're with a resort, you probably already have a Facebook group about your resort that exists. You just don't own it. So go on to Facebook and search those out. And if you don't, that's an opportunity to kind of get ahead of that and own that group before someone who you don't know does and has 2,500, 3,000 people at their beck and call. And then the third thing is just a huge highlight to what Nicole said, to be consistent with your fonts and your colors. And that's for people and brands alike. Just do it. I mean, there's so much stuff in a feed. It just comes by so quickly. It's this never ending river. If you can have those little things to help people recognize you within that stream, helps a ton. So I'm going to talk about two things tonight. The first one is one part of social media that I think is easy to miss. Sometimes when we think about social media, we think about purely our followers. And it's not an either or, but a great complement to a solid organic kind of presence, like Nicole talked about, is a more paid or more other audiences that you can get in front of that aren't the ones that you own. So I'm going to talk about that first. And then after that, I'm going to talk about professional development on social media and your own personal brand. I think we've got a lot of people here that don't work for resorts. I see Mary Jo on here. Mary Jo, great to see you, even though it's not in person. I see some others, Mary, who don't work for resorts but care about their personal brand. And I want to talk about some of the lessons I've learned about just using social to kind of make a name for yourself in a certain space. So let's first talk about those trends in terms of going beyond your follower list. The first thing that a lot of resorts do, but if you're not doing, you need to start taking much more seriously, is partnering with people like Nicole. And I say that, I use those words very specifically. I mean partner, not just, don't think of this as a one-off ad spend. Think of it as a true partnership where you're going to really build a relationship with this outlet or this influencer or whatever, so that, I mean, that rule of thumb with marketing, it takes 7+ interactions before someone remembers you or acts on your marketing. It's the same thing here. If you do a one-off ad spend with an influencer, well, that's one touch point with that audience. You got to work with them for a long time, really make them part of your brand. And NPU hit on this really, really well with the ambassador sort of approach that a lot of resorts take. And that's, I thought sometimes people don't think of that as influencers, but that absolutely is. A lot of resorts just work with those people that already have the follower counts, have that great ability to create awesome content, and they just kind of bring them into their marketing team rather than treat them as if I can just get them to tweet this, then I'll get 30,000 views or whatever. You got to think of it as a partnership. The second thing to think about, especially for resorts, is the paid aspect of social media. And going back to that point about how these outlets or these platforms like to reward you for using new things. 11 years ago was when Facebook pages launched. And at that time, holy smokes, if you started a page, you would get fans and followers so quickly that you really didn't have to do a lot of work. Just showing up on Facebook would get you into high on search results for people searching for things related to that. Everything worked in your favor. Engagement was crazy high. I mean, engagement was 20% sometimes on posts. That is not the case anymore. And so you really have to think about ways to reach new people outside of that kind of organic follower group. And this is not an accident. Facebook and others are companies, right? They want to make money. They need to make money, but their ad platforms are really, really good at reaching people, and you can do it really cost effectively. But what I would say is that it can't, I guess there are 2 points I'd make on this. One is this can't just be an agency thing. Most resorts will typically just work with an agency, kind of let them manage those audiences. But I think resorts need to get better at managing that process themselves and really keeping a few really important or critical audiences up to date that they can turn to over and over again to make sure that they reach the right people. And those audiences, at least from my perspective, most of them need to be built on guest data. So pulling people out of the guest database, maybe it's the families, the high net promoter score, the people who spend a ton of money, whatever it is, pull those people out, put them into audiences on social media so that over and over again, you can boost your posts or create new posts that you're not going to publish on your public feed and get in front of those people. Again, this is on social media. It's just not your organic followers that you're trying to get in front of. And while the idea of paid does sound a little bit intimidating, it's not as expensive as most folks think, especially if you use that really good guest database, because the engagement is going to be so high on that, because that group is so relevant to what you're talking about. That's going to keep the cost of your ads down quite a bit. The third thing, actually one more thought on that. If you do paid social, just remember, people don't go to social media to look at ads, right? They go there to see really great content. And so one of the best places to get inspiration for ads is by looking at what performs really well on your organic feed, and then just finding ways to use that as an ad instead of trying to create some fancy display ad and then turn it into a square so you can post it on Instagram. That's not going to work on social media. And then the last thing, and this is a really interesting one. Actually, we have a few people off with their cameras on. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like you just needed to take a break from social media before. Yeah, it can be overwhelming. I mean, social media, I mean, during the elections, holy smokes, nonstop. It can be a mentally overwhelming thing to be on social media all the time. There are a lot of people in the last handful of years who have quit social media. There are a lot of people who never used social media in the first place. They still would probably think that your content that you're sharing is awesome. So find ways to get that content in front of them. I think the easiest way is to let them subscribe to your top social media content via email, right? Whatever performs well on organic social, put it into a newsletter format, send it out to your audience. It lets more people engage with your content. It gives that content more legs outside of that initial post. And it gets that group that just, for whatever reason, it just is not into social, or is burned out on social, or is, just really stubborn and is the last one in their family to join Facebook and they're never going to do it. Whatever the case, that group you can get in front of with content like that. So let me pivot now to the part two, this professional development side. This is one I think about a lot, partly because I've ridden an interesting path through this side of things. So my brand was built initially through a lot of social, and I was on social all the time. And then I got to the point where I hated social and I was burned out and I was done with this. I hated thinking about my life in terms of what I was going to tweet. And it hit a point where I just didn't want to do that anymore. And so I had to balance this idea of my brand, my successes in my career has been built on social media, but I don't feel like it's very healthy for me necessarily. So what does that look like? And so let me share a few thoughts about social media in terms of using it for your own personal brand. The first one is do fewer sites better. So if you feel like you've got to be all over the place, don't. Just focus on the one or the two that fit your skills and fit your bandwidth. Perfect example. I mean, Nicole hit on the fact that you really have to have great images to perform well on places like Instagram. If you suck at taking photos, don't use Instagram. If you don't want to edit videos all day, don't use YouTube. If you just want to focus on little written snippets, Twitter is perfect. Facebook might be, but they really reward the more visual stuff these days. So find one that really aligns to what you are good at and what you want to do. Don't sacrifice your own sanity just to build your own brand. It won't pay off in the end. The second thing I would recommend is really focus who you want to become on social media. So what I mean by that is don't just try to be everything ski to everyone. I call the two adjective principles. Add a couple more words to who you are and let that kind of filter you out from the rest. So I write about marketing. I've written I might have to count now. I think I've written about 1,700 posts on slope fillers over the last decade plus about marketing. I'm writing about the same stuff that the really bigwig guys on, TechCrunch and Convince and Convert and all these places are writing about. But I write about ski resort marketing. And just that lens that I look at everything through makes it so that I have this great loyal following in the ski industry because I'm writing about it in a very, very specific way. And I'd recommend you do the same thing. Think about who you want to be. Don't just be the ski guy. Are you going to be the Northeast family ski guy? Don't just be that woman who writes about snowboarding. Are you going to be the Pacific Northwest college student snowboarder, gal, think about who you want to be and focus, and you'll have a much greater chance of success. And if you want to go broader from there, you can, but at least you'll have a chance to get some traction in the first place. Third thing on social is just remember, social is wide open. I love Twitter. That's my favorite platform. Even though my newsfeed, I actually don't, I've hidden my newsfeed with the plugin, so I don't see my newsfeed anymore on Twitter. I still love Twitter because it's totally open. I actually built a tool once that, so I write code on kind of as a hobby. I built a tool once that could actually identify where it was snowing anywhere in the world right now by simply looking at what people were tweeting about. Because what happens when it starts snowing somewhere, people pull out their phones and say, it's snowing. And enough people do that, you can follow the weather anywhere in the world. That's what I love about Twitter. It's all open, it's all available. So if you want to get better at social media, find someone who you really like following and go through their tweets. Look for the top keywords that they're using. If you use the native Twitter platform, click on a tweet, you'll be able to see what platform it was posted from. All these things are just very easy to find and very easy to mimic if you find someone who does that really well. The fourth thing is use social media as a stepping stone for more meaningful conversations. Social media is amazing, absolutely amazing for connecting with people in ways that you never could connect before. I mean, the fact that I've had Twitter conversations with James Nehus, the guy whose signature was on the corner of the trail maps I had hanging on my wall as a kid, that's amazing. But I don't know James that well. But the people I do know well are the ones who I've used that little kind of seed to turn into lunch, or turn into a conversation at a trade show, or turn into whatever, a phone call. And so use social media to connect, but then turn that into a more meaningful conversation. And that will really create that. It'll honestly strengthen your social media relationship with that person as well, but it'll also build your brand in much stronger ways than just social. And then the last thing I would say, and this is maybe the simplest thing to recommend in terms of posting interesting content and growing your follower list, is to talk about other people. I think as journalists, most of you know that really well, right? You don't want to, the story is not about you. You want to get out of the way of the story and let the story be told. It's the same thing on social media. If you can make this about other people and say great things about them, I mean, that is basically the basis of slope fillers. I have written 1,600 times about all the cool stuff that people are doing, and that builds goodwill with them. They reshare it with their friends, so it builds my follower count, builds my audience. And it's just a great way to do it, right? There's enough nasty, stupid stuff on social media. If you can just share great, positive things about other people, that's a great way to build a brand as well. So I also have these in a PDF if you guys want some of these points that I've shared. Happy to send those out as well. But I'll leave it there in case there are questions, or Nicole has anything she wants to add. I know she was nodding quite a bit. I probably stole some of her talking points.
No, I love what you were saying, and I especially, as I said in a comment, there's some resorts that hire somebody. Ski Utah hired Brooke Froelich. I've met her once. She's lovely, but she was teaching her kids to ski around the Ski Utah universe. And the content was just stunning. I mean, Brooke's a professional. She takes gorgeous photos and does great videos. But the point was, she made multiple visits. And if you were following along, you were following along, because a lot of people want to teach their kids how to ski, especially in my world. And I shared in her frustration when the kid was having a tantrum on the mountain. It was so real and visceral. It was amazing, amazing content. And when you're saying about partnering with somebody for the long term, I absolutely love it. Every resort has diehards there who can create amazing content for them.
Yeah, totally. There is this isn't exactly what we were saying, but I just reminded me of an example of a really specific type of content that was super engaging, that someone built a good following around. There was someone, I think he called himself the Bull Wheel Bagger. I'm trying to find it now, but he had the goal of riding every lift in Utah last year. That is, I mean, there are so many people that love lifts, that love skiing in Utah, but he just got so specific. It created this really, really cool feed. You could follow him all the way through the season. Oh shoot, he went to Nordic Valley, but the new lift wasn't open, so he had to come back another time. oh, he went to Alta, but this lift wasn't open. He had to come. It just was that kind of content, specific, personal, awesome.
And for the freelancers on board, for those of you who write for a living and your job is to make sure that a lot of people are following up on your contents or buying your books, your social could be, maybe you're a coffee loving skier. I love what Greg was talking about before, because it's hard, you may not be at a new resort every day, and you may want to think of clever ways to get that book in a photo. Well, maybe you are a coffee lover and you place your book by, you're at 10 different cute coffee shops in a month, and you prop your book up by your the coffee that you're ordering every particular moment. You're like, oh, my book just made a visit to Montvert, which is one of my favorite coffee shops in Woodstock. And you could take your book along to all of those different places. Give me a second. I'm going to get a little prop.
Thank you, Greg. That was amazing. While she's getting that.
Okay, so I think these cost me, I think it was $100 for like 100 stickers. And I'll show you, it says ski like a mother. And I place these in my social media when I don't have something super particular to say, like they're on a variety of my gear, on helmets or on mugs or whatever. And I can shoot just so people constantly know that I'm all about moms who ski. So say you're a writer, you can get stickers made up and put them on your coffee mugs, and you could be your book or your name of your book. It's super cheap, and it's a way to work the real life into your social. So if you have a new book coming out, or if you're trying to promote your Facebook or whatever, like your cute little sticker can be something that you put on your coffee mugs, or you send with your books, and then you encourage people to take a photograph with their sticker of your book. And then that's another way to create content. You can, you can do these stickers on Canva, and that's where I've created mine. And I made t-shirts as well. The t-shirts were a little bit more of an endeavor, but a sticker for writers, this is something that you guys can create, and you can have the name of your book or the name of your website, and it's very easy. And then this can create social media for you. If you don't like taking pictures of yourself, you can take pictures of your book or your the little promotional item that you may have.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, at Snow Basin, we like to do scavenger hunt hashtags where you take your photo with something at the resort and you go around. We've played with it a couple different times. The sticker idea makes it a little simpler than asking them to drag some other stuff around, which we've had. So thank you, Nicole, for sharing that.
Yeah, and Megan, I know, so within our Ski Moms group, something that's been a summer topic of conversation is how do you display all of the resort stickers that you've collected? So the moms on our Facebook group have come up with such creative ways to display their resort stickers. It's amazing. And then came into a separate conversation of what do you do with old ski passes? So again, people have come up with really creative things that they've done with ski passes. People have turned them into ornaments. They've turned them into like under coffee tables. So some super creative stuff, which then can be social media content, because it's, send us how you've used your stickers over time. It's an easy way to get your followers to create content for you.
I think what you're all saying is we all need to create variety, and before we turn it right, like there's not one way. I see sometimes a page will see that they had a lot of engagement with a wow photo of the ski resort with the sunset, but that's for a Friday, and I'll leave you on that ... But I find the best resorts marketing, and I know the NSAA even had awards this year for best social media, so it's becoming important to keep creative, is to have variety. Like sometimes you'll need an interview with your groomer guy, and sometimes you'll need a reel, sometimes you'll need to have a live Facebook chat. So it's nice to have variety. So before we open up, we didn't get, Megan, do you have any questions in there? Like, because I'd like to, if people don't have specific questions for Greg or Nicole, You could also share a win that you felt that you've learned through your social media. Like, I know we have a lot of experts even here in attendance.
Yeah, so we did have one question from David. This
Yes.
was more about online presence. So he asked, did the resort see online traffic increase during the pandemic? What changes do you anticipate from the experience looking forward? So as a resort representative, we did see online traffic go up immensely, but we were also pivoting to put all our ticket sales online only, and walk up was very much discouraged like most other resorts. So I think that also led to our online traffic being more. Plus, with all the safety measures, people needed to be a little bit more prepared. Nicole and her Ski Moms Facebook group, I'm part of it, but I'm not a mom. Just want to be in there, see what's going on. They were like regularly sharing the safety tips of how to maneuver the resort in this time. Deer Valley has one, Snow Basin has a private group. So it's interesting to see these private groups that Nicole spoke about on Facebook showing up as places to lead you to our content. With Greg's background from Intopia, he might be able to share a little more insight from trends overall in the industry.
Yeah, traffic was up. You might agree, Megan, but it probably didn't look like traffic in years past. It was traffic that was going to places like reservations pages to reserve days, which wasn't a thing at Snow Basin, but was at other resorts. It was traffic reading, how do I navigate the resort this winter? So from what I've heard, it was way up, but just was a very different type of traffic. Less people worried about webcams. I'm sure webcam traffic was still up, but more worried about, okay, do I even get a ski this weekend?
I just think given the local nature of circumstances of pandemic and where people were, that you guys resorts had a fantastic advantage in that they wanted up to the minute information for their local mountain. So I can't imagine you didn't see traffic increase. And the second part of that question really is, do you see some of the systems or policies you adopted because of the pandemic being used again and again because it just makes sense? Or is the opposite true in some ways too?
Yeah, so at Snow Basin, we've made a goal to get online ticket sales up, and the pandemic just like threw our goal out of the water. So that's really exciting for us. And data is very important, that Greg says. And we had a goal of like 80% data retention. And since most people were buying online, we were like knocking out those goals. It was pretty exciting. But then you see those other resorts that did a reservation system, and a lot of those reservation systems are going away this year because it was more problematic than successful. So I think certain pages will stay online for resorts. If anyone else is on here and wants to step in and share just from their resort, I'm just Snow Basin. I'm not a pro on all of them. And yeah, it was interesting to see what we would do online. I know Aspen and some other resorts added walk-up tickets, which were not that tech advanced at Snow Basin, and sounds like those will stay. So it's definitely changed the world. Ski Area Management, who's also one of our members, they couldn't make it tonight. They do some really cool articles talking about how the technology has changed immensely in the last year and what could stay and what couldn't. If you're more interested in that, David, I could definitely connect you to Sarah and Olivia Rowan after.
All right. Hey, while I want to thank Greg for giving me the permission not to have to maintain all platforms all the time.
You're welcome, David. You're welcome. And David, I was also going to follow up on your question a little bit.
Okay.
I've talked to 3 resorts so far coming off of this season who limited capacity, but ended up selling more tickets because suddenly there was this urgency and exclusivity that didn't exist before, because it's always been potentially limitless, right? And 3 resorts who have limited capacity last year and are going to limit capacity again this year, even without the pandemic, because they can have higher yield on their tickets. They can charge more for their tickets on average and still sell out. So there's some things that are going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Key pass sales have been up too. NASJA hosted a big Zoom early on in the season, right, Jeff? And it was with all the associations, and they were already seeing a 20% increase. So you limit, we're all passionate skiers, snowboarders, snow sports enthusiasts, of course, but if you limit the access of, obviously it rushed people to the gate. So another question I might have is the expectations. I was mentioning that, and you were saying like people burn out as social media manager because there's an expectation. And here in Quebec, we have a lot of evening skiing until 10, and people expect an immediate answer. So some of you, I don't see your resorts, but like it's just, do you expect to, it cannot turn into replacing your customer service. You have to do an auto reply, maybe to manage expectations, say we will answer questions, or we'll please call the center, you know, like you don't want people to just log in and expect an immediate chat all the time. Greg is mute. Megan, you want?
Yes. So
Anybody wants to answer?
at Snow Basin, yet again, this is just from my personal experience. People ask questions all the time. Like with our world, it amazes me how needy the human being has become and how lazy they are at looking for information on their own. So it's just something I've had to come to terms with, because everyone needs an answer right away. And you could post, hey, we're opening. Well, what's the weather today? Why don't you go check our webcam? So my new approach at Snow Basin is to very tactfully educate when I respond with links to our website in a very tactful way, because we're Snow Basin and I'm not allowed to be sassy like other resorts have done in the past. But it is a thing that you do have to turn off. Like Greg said, it's your personal brand, it's your resort brand. The nice thing at some resorts is a lot of resorts will share the messages, the DMs, the Facebook messages, the direct messages, so that not everyone is on there constantly. I need to be better about logging off on my phone, because sometimes if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm not sleeping, I hop on just to kill time, which is not a good idea. So everyone can improve and kind of step away from social, because you do get burnt out. I did the away messages, and it actually ended up being a little more annoying at Snow Basin, because they'd get this message, we will get back to you shortly. Instead, I really do like Facebook, how when you message a company, Facebook says they will reply in X amount of hours on average. So I think that's kind of nice that sets that protocol. With Instagram, it's interesting because if you don't follow certain people, they go to like this way off land of DMs that you sometimes have to go in and check, which is curious. But it's all about maintaining your mental health. Like Greg said, you can't go crazy. To do your job well, you gotta at least think about yourself and your mental health first.
Exactly. Any questions?
I have a question.
Oh, Marie-Jo?
Yeah. So I have a couple questions actually. Coming from this from a slightly different perspective, because I've never lived in an area that is really close to a ski resort. So we always have to travel, being from DC and now Delaware. I'm curious to hear what either Greg or the other panelists have to say about, in terms of social media, how and we know, during the pandemic, a lot of people saw skiing and snowboarding as a way to be outside and be active and be relatively safe from COVID issues. But on the other hand, with the rise in Epic sales, Epic Pass sales, the big pass groups that charge a fair amount of money, and then they charge people that only want to do it one or two times a large amount of money. How can social media help educate the average person who might want to be active but isn't necessarily a skier or a snowboarder to become interested in the sports, and particularly people who might be what I would call adventure travelers, who want to have a new experience, but maybe they have not done this particular activity? And how does social media bridge the gap between that particular consumer and becoming somebody who, we all know the average amount of times somebody goes skiing is 4 or 5 times. It's not somebody that lives in Vail or near Stowe who goes multiple times a year and buys a season pass. So what is the avenue to get those people involved?
I mean, Mary Jo, I think you've got some really good points. I would say, I think cross country skiing saw a huge boost this year because it's cheaper. Most places you don't have to buy a pass to get going. I think also snowshoeing did really well this year. And I would say video is a great way to use social media for those, really taking somebody from, okay, here's the basic equipment you need and here's how you get going. I did a few Nordic skiing shares. I'm very new to it. I went lots more this winter. I joined for $150, I got a season pass. And I think I went probably 20 or 30 times. And I got better and I was sharing that along the way. So I think social is a great opportunity to say, for the newbie, like, here's a video of how you get going and here's a video of the most basic gear you need. Or, I've never tried this. Here's my way I'm getting through this. Or if you're partnering with somebody who's never done it, you're trying to get a friend of yours into the outdoor world and he or she has never done it before. Okay, will you be my guinea pig? Can I take some photos of you getting up and learning and doing this together? I think that social is a great way, to your point, of getting people up and running on a new sport, because you can show it almost in real time how it's happening, how they're getting their snowshoes on and experiencing the joy of playing in snow with relatively low risk of injury snowshoeing.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Thank you. Anybody else want to address this question?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I have thoughts on this, Mary Jo.
I know. We've talked a lot.
I think, Nicole hit some great points. The first is that this is largely an education issue. There are affordable skiing options out there, and we've done a lousy job as an industry of making that clear. My season passes for my entire family, 2 kids, 2 adults, $400 this year at Nordic Valley. I will ski 40, 50 times. That is $400 is less than, within a few years, a day pass at Vail on holiday weekends. Right. That is one part of it, right? The other part is that I think we call ourselves mountain resorts, but we still are just so ski heavy. And we haven't really been able to put the effort and the creativity into selling the snowshoeing, selling the other stuff, as well as we do the skiing. And to a point that Nicole made, I have beat this drum for a long time. We do not care as much as we should about how it looks, how skiing looks, how the experiences that we do look, because people go and do things in the social media age. People go and do things for the picture. They don't do the thing for the thing. They go and do it so they can take the cute picture with the awesome lighting and the really cool view. And if think about the beginner skiing experience, you're in flat light at the bottom of the mountain. You're probably in the shadow of the mountain by 1 p.m. You are surrounded. You look stupid because you don't look like anybody else. The big beautiful vistas on the mountain are 2,000 feet above you in the west, or a few hundred feet above you wherever. That is not a compelling visual. And if people do things to do visual things, we just haven't found a way to make the beginner experience an enticing visual thing that people want to do and share and brag about on social.
Yeah. I think to your point, I'm sorry, Nicole, I just want to follow up on what Greg just said. I think a lot of people want to show their friends that they did something different or enticing or exotic that maybe their friends haven't done. And I think that's probably the reason why they do what you just said. And that's a wonderful thing.
I've said before, and when I've spoken at ski shows, that the best money a resort could spend is putting somebody with the ability to take families' camera phones and take a family photo and give it back to that family. Send them all over the resort, and whenever they see a family gathered, can I take your phone and take a family photo for you on the mountain? How many times times would that image get shared? You know, hire an intern
Yep.
to do this on, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the bright red jacket so they know it's legit. You know, can I take a photo of you teaching your kid to ski? Because right now you're sweating, but you're going to want a memory of this. And how, that is amazing free content. And I've seen, you know, the epic mix photos, but you know, you have to get to a certain destination and it's usually at a harder to get to spot. So it's the more of the, you know, quote unquote serious skiers. But I'd love to see, you know, a red or a yellow jacket on that bunny slope, to your point, Greg, getting the father-daughter moment, or the mother with twins moment, because, you know, that mom is sweating bullets trying to make the magic happen. And she would love to get a photo of that. That's a freebie from me. My market.
That's a fabulous idea. I love
Yeah.
that.
Anybody else? I was seeing in chat the little action. Some people are shy to unmute, or you can just post. Ray, was that a Ray?
Yeah, yeah, this is partly why we, you know, started our whole mission, right? I think that so I was a big skier as a kid growing up. I got my wife into skiing as an adult in college, or just after college, and we skied a ton. Then we stopped skiing. Then as the kids got older, we rediscovered winter. And the first point, Greg, we had no clue where to find good deals. So we spent probably $35,000 at, you know, rack rate, the window, buying tickets for a season. And then we quickly learned, like, oh, you know, season passes or just other kinds of clubs that we could join to find the discounts. But we felt like right away, wow, you know, that's like the mountains aren't really marketing so much to us. So they should be, but maybe we weren't seeing at the time. So part of our interest was to kind of like at least try to, you know, showcase like families learning how to ski, and then showing it to our friends. This is purely a passion project, and we make nothing from this. We'd like to make something from one day, but you know, allowing people to ask us like how we do things. So it becomes a conversation that we would use on social media, first on our personal accounts, and then with Facebook pages, and then just kind of grew from there. Because you're right, I think that, you know, families get often left out of the mix, and we've been seeing it more and more probably the last few years, that there's more of this theme, including the families, right? To add to Nicole's point, it's really funny. I think it was not last year because we weren't in Vermont, but 2 years ago, all the green coats at Killington, they were in fact doing that. They were actually like going to people on the mountain and shooting them with their phones. We know a couple of them, I'm sure, you know, Pete and other people at Killington. So I think that's a good model to go by. And I think that overall the ski industry, and that's including ski media, you know, they tend to kind of glorify the ski bum, which is great because that's what got me into hooked in skiing. But the ski bum, not necessarily as a person that's spending the money, it's guys like me who are blowing, you know, or conveniently spending money with our family to get them engaged about and telling our friends about it. We've got a lot of friends now skiing, a lot of money. And I really think that there should be a really strong focus on that, and the value of skiing as a family, and then just the memories you make. So again, what you said, Nicole. So I talk too much. I hope just echoing everything you said. I agree.
That's why you're in media, right? We all get involved because we're passionate about what we love. Anybody else before we wrap this up? We promised you a little hour, and we'll release it on Zoom. Yeah, John?
Having just published a book on the history of Sun Valley, I'll have to say that so much of this sounds like Steve Hannigan Redu. So much of what you talked about were techniques Steve Hannigan brought to Sun Valley in 1936. For example, he had a group of 3 Union Pacific photographers who took pictures of everyone who came. He'd find out where they came from, and he'd send the pictures back to the newspaper, knowing that they'd be getting millions of dollars of free publicity all over the country. He had those photographers out on the ski hill taking pictures of the mothers and the fathers and everyone else just learning to ski. He and Harriman, the first film produced by Sun Valley or by Union Pacific, was a picture of 2 people who had never skied before, and they filmed the whole skiing experience, coming in, buying equipment, learning what to look for, getting to the mountain, first days of instruction, and what they looked like at the end. You know, Steve Hannigan is still the classic publicist. And incidentally, there's a very interesting biography of him published last year for all of you in the marketing industry, because he invented so many of these techniques that you're now talking about upgraded to the event of social media. He was doing it when there's no internet, so if you took a picture, you literally had to send the picture to Des Moines, Iowa, to get it published.
Right.
Everything old is new
I
again.
find it interesting hearing all of you talk and thinking back about everything that Hannigan did in the 1930s.
Yes.
Jen, what is the title of your book that you wrote?
Skiing Sun Valley, history from Union Pacific to the Holdings.
It's an award-winning book. NASJA gave him an award this year.
Right.
But no, I think all of the resort or us writers, or I manage social media for a ski magazine in Canada, I think the quality of your photos and videos will speak volumes. So don't be afraid to partner up. I think you've mentioned it with some great content creators, videographers who know video editing a lot more than you do, or great photography. And if it costs you a couple of lift tickets, then that's all we got into to the industry. One last question, perhaps. I know some people just joined. I know we might have had a hard time with the link, but we've recorded this whole conversation because a lot of things we wanted to write down. We'll share it more on Facebook, and we'll share the Zoom as well in the next newsletter. So I just want to take one more question. I see Megan's back, maybe in chat.
When can we come back to Canada?
Hey, well, we're going to have some good news. We just had a board meeting today, and according to latest news, we'll have some news in July, and we'll see the conditions, because I was explaining that every province in Canada, like I'm in Quebec, so I'm in Tremblant, but BC and the Maritimes are all different. So on conditions, so that'll happen soon. But for our Canadian members, we might organize a trip this year, and then another one for international later, because we can't come to see you as well.
I know.
But, I know.
Sad.
I know a lot of people like I was looking at the SIA numbers and all the NSAA, but same thing in Canada. It's been a fabulous years with record-breaking numbers. So I think skiing is up. So we're all in a good industry that's going to grow and hopefully keep us employed for a lot longer. Last question. Raise your hand, sing, say thank you. All right. So
Thank you all for organizing this. This is wonderful.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us.
Greg and
Always.
Nicole, thank you for your expertise. I know you usually charge, and we can offer this for free as NASJA. So with Jeff, the president, and Megan, our corporate liaison, and all the people here, Isotte is also on our board. Hi, thank you. So we want to wish you an awesome summer. We will be thinking snow, because skiing never rests. So we're planning ahead for the fall, and we'll get back to you with some professional development on snow reporting, as Jeff mentioned, in September. So see you then. But please follow us on Facebook. Megan and I and everybody, we work so hard. So it's NASJA Snow Media on Facebook. And Twitter, it's NASJA Snow Scoop. So, and we want to follow you, so it's easy to tag us, and we'll share your stories.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Get your friends to join.
Everyone have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Sophie.